Welcome to MELfeed.video. We are commencing a live web stream service via youtube.com from Echuca, Australia. We currently conduct these streams on Monday evenings, with other times to be added as more opportunities arise. Please visit our website MELfeed.video for further information. This web video project presents old and new community TV programs. Please enjoy your stay with MELfeed.video.
Hello and welcome to NAT Chat. I'm Mirella Rich. Today our guest is Jeanette Murray Wakelin, who conquered cancer. She had cancer in 2001 she was diagnosed with cancer and conquered it on a low-fat, raw vegan diet and a healthy lifestyle as well. Welcome to the program, Janet.
Thank you.
Can you tell us so what cancer did you have for a start? We'll just let them
It was breast cancer.
Breast cancer.
Yeah.
And what was your immediate... What did you do immediately when you found out you had cancer?
As soon as I was diagnosed, started looking into, what was going to happen next. And it's a bit of a shock when you get diagnosed with cancer for a start off and then being told that you only have a certain amount of time to live as the prognosis. You do go into shock. And it takes a while before you start to think and react clearly.
And you were told you had 6 months to live too,
yes,
weren't
it
you?
was. Yeah. So it did take, a bit of getting that into my mind. Well, what happens next? And intuitively, I just felt like, okay, whatever's happened, why this has occurred, there must be a way to change that. Just sort of intuitively knowing that the body is there to take care of you. I mean, it takes care of itself. We kind of get in the way.
Yeah.
So it's, I just thought, well, what can I do to help? Of course, I went through the process of going to all the different doctors and the oncologists and hearing what they had to say and what they recommended. And most of it didn't make sense to me. If my body was already compromised in a way that I was diagnosed with cancer, especially terminal, then, it didn't make sense to compromise it further with treatment that was going to make me very sick.
Was that like chemotherapy and
Chemotherapy and radiation was recommended, also surgery. And during that, during the process, probably within a week or so of getting the diagnosis, I was getting a lot of phone calls from the doctor and from the oncology department to say you've got to start doing your treatment. This is what they've recommended.
Pressurising you,
and really pressurising. And the more that happened, the more I felt like this isn't right for me. But however, it is fear driven, and of course you certainly have a lot of fearful thoughts as to what you.
And the pressure's
what
on
you're
to
looking
decide.
forward to, and your pressure's on to decide, and you're getting a lot of pressure from family and as well. So I actually decided, okay, I'll agree to have the surgery to remove the tumour that has been found, and that's how we got the prognosis, just to give me time to decide what else I was going to do.
Yep.
Retrospectively, I would not have done that, but that's all in my book.
Yeah.
So that it's a good, in a lot of ways at this time, I think that it was probably a good thing that I went through that process, because I was able to write about it and I'm able to talk to other people from that perspective as well.
Yeah. That's what Dr. Lorraine Day did too.
Yes.
She had breast cancer and she got something removed, the big lump removed,
lump
and then she did raw vegan pretty much.
So when I had that surgery, they did discover while they were there that it had gone into the chest wall as well as they had thought, which is why the prognosis was not very good, because obviously you can't cut it out of the chest wall or you'd have a hole you'd see through you. So clearly they weren't going to get it all.
Oh, okay. So some remained.
Yes, yeah. And so then, with the immunotherapy that I did with the help of a naturopathic physician, and changing my diet, making more conscious lifestyle choices with everything, environmentally especially. So, what kind of products I was using or not using, making sure that I was doing 100% the best I could to have the cleanest environment and the purest food, the most highly nutritious food that would help my body to change, reverse the situation.
So you changed to like a low-fat, raw vegan diet, or started off with juices, didn't you, for the first 6 months?
Yes, I started off with juices because that made sense. To get as many nutrients from the food as I possibly could. By juicing it, you obviously can drink a lot more juice than you can to eat the raw product. But I also was, eating more raw food, because when I wanted to actually eat something substantial, I just was eating fruit or vegetables, because that was the only food that I knew would give me 100% nutrients from eating it. And that was why I went raw, because by cooking it you lose some of the nutrients, sometimes all of the nutrients, especially if it's processed food, because it's such a high heat, and that kills not only the nutrients but also the enzymes that you need to assimilate the nutrients from the food. So it's kind of like a waste of time eating it that way. So,
and when did you come to the idea, I can get rid of this cancer through a low-fat, raw vegan diet and changing other aspects of my life?
Well, pretty much as soon as I was diagnosed, I knew intuitively that there was something I could do.
Yep.
And then my family and myself, we went through the process of starting to try and find out what that could be. Straight away I just stopped cooking the food. I just started juicing straight away. Looked into various therapies that had been well documented and proven to be healthful, and just started following some of those protocols, and started really looking and researching for myself to find out what was the best I could possibly do, and just kept rolling in that direction. Yeah. So I pretty much went raw straight away, just by default, because that was the best you could do.
Yeah.
But when I really started to look into it as a diet, as part of a lifestyle, then I realised that it's the solution. It's the solution to everything.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah. We're going to have to go to a break now.
Okay.
You're watching Nat Chat. Stay with us. We'll be back with more very shortly.
Northern Access Television will turn 30 in 2020. We are planning a celebration night with a book and a special TV show about our history. If you're a past member or a volunteer of NAT, we would love to hear from you. For more details, visit the website nat30years.info and find out how you can help celebrate 30 years of media for the community. The 30th anniversary of Northern Access Television. Let's celebrate in 2020. Inline Plus Revisited is a 1-hour special taking a look back at the Inline Plus TV series from 2008. We present the best of our stories, looking into the exciting and fast-paced world of inline and roller skating. So whether you do it for sport or just for fun, come join us at 7:30 this Saturday night for Inline Plus Revisited on 44 Adelaide. Hi, I'm Darren McElwain from Air FM Drive. You can tune into my show from 3 to 6 p.m. on 88.0 in Penrith and also on tunein.com. And apparently, we don't throw rocks. Air FM Drive. Do you currently have a community service announcement on free-to-air television? If you do, you can now submit it to us as well via our website at MELfeed.video. We have lots of time to fill on these broadcasts, and we are sure to give your announcement a great run on MELfeed.video.
Hello and welcome back to NAT Chat. I'm Mirella Rich. If you've just joined us, we're here with Janet Murray Wakelin, who conquered cancer within 6 months on a low-fat, raw vegan diet when, in fact, she was given 6 months to live. She did better use with her 6 months. Welcome back to the program.
Thank you.
You made great use of those 6 months, hey?
Well, I certainly did. and I felt like, well, if I've only got 6 months, I mean, really it's to die, not to live.
Yeah.
Then I was going to use those 6 months.
Yeah.
To see if I could make that difference, and with the help of a lot of family and friends, I was able to get that enough information to implement it. And
because some people might be watching now and they've just been diagnosed with cancer and they're told, okay, now get your will ready, say goodbye to your family, make the precious moments in your family, and they're all prepared to die. It's all preparing them to die, not saying let's try another avenue, let's see what else is out there. It's comforting them and they look after them well and everything, but it's dying in the big picture.
That's right. And I do feel that, and I did feel at the time that, immediately you think, wow, I've only got 6 months to live, literally. What do you do in that 6 months? And you are told to go and put your things in order. Now, I'm not really quite sure what that means because, I'm a pretty tidy person. Things seem to be in order for me. What was not in order was inside. And I think that is missed completely.
Yeah.
It's not about making sure that your bank account's okay and that you've got a will and everything. It's really about, well, what is out of order? Why are you in this situation? And you realise that it's coming from within. Something needs to change. So from that point onwards, I never wrote a will. I mean, why would I need to write a will if I had no intention of dying? And certainly a lot of people, through fear and through belief that this is what's going to happen, pretty much right on the dot, they will die. Because they believe in it. They believe that they've been told they've got 6 months or 3 years or whatever it is before they're going to die, and there's been case after case of people actually dying literally on the day because they go down that path.
There's I remember Doug Graham. Of course, Doug Graham. He's also a very big pioneer for the 80-10-10 low-fat raw vegan diet. He said, "I don't have health insurance. I have life assurance."
Absolutely, and we're the same.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yes, I mean, if you can, ensure that if you do everything in the right manner, that you're going to have, a better lifestyle, and you're unlikely to need, especially on the health issue, to go to doctors or go to hospitals, or for all the reason that people might have health insurance or life insurance. We have neither. We don't need to go. Yeah. And I say we, it's my husband and I, of course. Yeah.
How did it? So you came home and you thought, that's it, I'm going to do a raw vegan diet. And everyone believes in the medical profession. They're saying, no, go to the medical profession. You've got to do what the doctor say, please. And then they're thinking, why is she not doing it? And they were getting scared. So how did you deal with all of this kind of thing that would happen probably in every family?
Oh, absolutely. I'm sure it does. And for me, there was a process. And during that time, of making decisions and trying to, I wasn't completely certain about certain things all the time, but sort of for those first few weeks, just trying to, find the right path. I did have a lot of friends and some family members who really just kept saying to me, look, you're stressing yourself out. Just do what the doctor says. Everybody does what the doctor says. And, and I'd come back with, yes, but I just read that, the percentage, I know I was looking at all these, analysing all these different studies and things, and I was saying, but it's not actually true. What you're being told is not actually true. And, I might be that other 1% that makes, after all, I must be 1 in a million to be told I'm going to die of cancer, so therefore maybe I could be the opposite. And I would have these, not necessarily arguments, but I'd think, try to
Heated
convince
debates.
people, debates and
Yeah.
things like that. And then eventually I just felt like, okay, what I really need, and it was when one of my family members said, look, you're really stressing yourself out, you should just, go with what the doctor says. That was the moment when I realised that, yes, why would I stress myself out?
Yeah.
It's not something, it's possible that could have caused the cancer in the first place. First, I need to figure out what caused it. I have to make sure that I'm not doing anything that is continuing, and try and do what I can to make it better. So I just basically turned around and said to my family members that were, pressurizing me to do what I was told to do, because of their own fear and because of their love for me, I just said, look, honestly, I need your support. I need your support anyway. Whether you believe in what I'm doing and my choices, I just need your support and love. And that changed everything. From that moment on, I had their support and I had their love, but I no longer had to deal with, the questions and the pressure.
That's beautiful, because you could have even got angry and thought, I'm leaving all these people, I'll find my own way, I'll find people who believe in me, I want to...
But also some people, when they're up against that, they'll just make that choice, which may not have been their true choice. And I've definitely had people speak to me about choices that they have made because they just wanted their husband to feel okay.
And what sort of choices were they?
Well, like, okay, I'll do the surgery, okay, I'll do the chemo, especially the chemo and the radiation. So many women who have had breast cancer, and I've spoken to many, who have actually chosen to go ahead with the treatment against their own wishes, but for their family or for their husband, because they are so afraid.
Well, I suppose the other people put the fear into you. Already got a little bit of fear because you don't know 100% if what raw vegan, low-fat raw vegan is going to work. You don't know because you haven't done it before in this time. So you would have a little bit of fear of that, but then having their fear on top of your own little fear kind of like makes it so huge.
And it's overwhelming. It is overwhelming, and for most people, it is way too overwhelming. And they just, make a choice and go like, okay, I'll just do this, and and I won't have to think about it anymore. And that just wasn't good enough for me.
And then you had a conversation once with one of the doctors. Once you realise this raw vegan, low-fat raw vegan thing is actually the way to go and it's working, you had a conversation with one of the doctors. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, yes, I mean, I did tell them that I just wanted to do everything as naturally as possible. With the doctor on the medical side of things, she was also a friend of mine, and she said, look, whatever you want to do, I'll support you in any way I can within the profession that I'm in. And so that was very helpful, because I was able to get tests done and so on, because she knew that that I needed to go down my own path, and she supported me from her angle of that, and that was wonderful. And in doing so, she also said, why don't you go to a naturopathic physician and see what they can do to help you, perhaps there's some therapy that you can do that's more natural because that's the way you're looking. And so that was helpful too, and that's why I ended up doing that as well.
Okay, we'll have to go to a break, but we'll continue on that.
Yes.
You're watching Nat Chat. Hope you're enjoying the program. Stay with us. We'll be back with more very shortly.
Every new line means two more hands. Join us, lions.org.au.
Had enough of the bad news about carbon dioxide and climate change? Wood is one solution. Trees take CO2 from the air and store it in their wood. They're also renewable, unlike concrete and steel. But the wood you choose should be recycled or from certified plantations or forests. This helps protect areas of high conservation value. So next time you're building or buying something, make it wood and do your world some good.
Joy, well-being, community, inclusion.
Special Olympics is a global movement for people with an intellectual disability, creating a world of inclusion and community through sport, where every person is accepted and welcomed, regardless of ability. One athlete, one volunteer, one family member at a time, helping to make the world a better place. Join the inclusion revolution by supporting Special Olympics.
And choose to include.
For the first time in many years, Northern Access TV's general interest magazine show, etc., will be seen again on MELfeed.video. The show covered many interesting topics around Melbourne and is well worth seeing again. So see it every Monday night at 8:30 here on MELfeed.video.
Hello and welcome back to NAT Chat. I'm Mirella Rich. If you've just joined us, we're here with Janet Murray Wakelin, who conquered cancer 100%. She was given 6 months to live and she conquered it in 6 months on a low-fat, raw vegan diet. Welcome back to the program, Janet.
Thank you.
And you also made lifestyle changes. You said it was also environment. We didn't touch on that. I just thought maybe we might touch a bit on that.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I looked, I wanted to sort of try and discover what the cause was. How could I have, been compromised in such a way that I had cancer in the first place.
Yeah.
Because I was already vegetarian for most of my life and also vegan and did things as naturally as I could. I was brought up that way.
Yeah.
So it was a shock. But then when you start to think back, and when you think back over your whole life, you realise that you're the person that's been there every second of your life. So you know exactly what's happened throughout your life and where you've been and what you've done and so on.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take long to figure out, especially when you get a diagnosis, especially with cancer, with breast cancer, and in particular if there's a tumour, they're able to discern how long that's been happening for.
Oh, wow.
So it's not, like for me, especially when it was discovered, when the lump was discovered, the tumour, they estimated that it had actually been growing for 8 years. So you get a little bit of an idea. You go back 8 years and you start thinking, where was I? What was I doing? What had I been doing before that? What was my environment like? What was I eating? What was I not eating? And pretty soon you can pinpoint it down as to what it could have been. And for me, it was definitely an environmental situation.
And what sort of environmental things
I
was
can't
it?
tell you that. It's in the book. It's all in the book. Yes, I've written a book that's based on, on my journey, and it's written in a way that people can relate to the situation. So it's not just, every person's obviously different, everybody's environment is different and so on. So hopefully that will, help a lot of people when they look at that in that way. But for me it was, I definitely put it down to an environmental situation. And environment is inside as well as outside.
Right.
So stress levels are very high in, a possibility of getting cancer. For most people that's pretty high, and stress levels can come from fear. So the whole thing's, in a vicious circle really. But also environmentally, when you first ask the question, is some of the choices that you can make a difference. For instance, where you're living, what the products are that you're using in your home, whether it's your cleaning products, your cosmetics. A lot of these different products are very highly toxic to the body, and that can cause,
and shampoos, all the things you put on your body, makeup, everything.
Exactly. So all of those choices, as well as what your environment is like living in. If you're living in a house that's, maybe it's got asbestos in it, or it's got lead paint, or these various different things. Looking at the different ways that you can remedy that, or if you're moving into a place of your own or building your own home, to think more consciously about those choices.
So you left no stone unturned.
Exactly.
That's the way. That's the way I've heard from wise John Fielder up in Cairns saying, yeah,
Yes.
no stone unturned.
That's right. Looking
Exactly.
at everything, you know, all the choices that you can make in life, and it does make a difference.
And to nut out, what sort of actual food did you have? Like, how did you start? What were the juices you drank? What sort of raw food did you eat? Because some people might get mixed up and not know exactly what to eat.
Yes, of course. Well, straight away, I was already vegetarian, vegan. You know, I was still having a few like yogurt and things like that. I just stopped having all of those immediately because I just wanted to get as many nutrients in there. That's the key, to help the body help itself. And the best way to do that is to get more of that is to juice. And I had looked up Gerson therapy, which is based on juicing, and certainly that therapy has helped many people.
Yeah.
With the theory that if you juice as much as you can, and just supplement a little bit with, I shouldn't use the word supplement, but also have some food that is going to help keep those nutrients in for as long as it takes the body to actually utilize them. So for instance, if you're drinking a lot of juice, you can actually be flushing out some of those nutrients just purely by having a lot of liquid.
Right.
So it's having a good balance there. So the juices, I just started juicing straight away because it made sense to have more.
Fresh juices as well.
So
wasn't
fresh
it?
juice, yes, absolutely.
And what sort of
So I was
juices?
juicing mainly carrot, and that is because it has very high provitamin A, which is very good for the immune system, to help build the immune system, and beetroot, which is a real blood builder. And of course your blood is taking all those nutrients everywhere in the body, so that made sense. Pretty much that was it, although at the same time I was also making smoothies and using greens to get all those minerals from the greens, but I would cut the stalk off the green and then I would juice the stalk. So when I'm juicing, I'm using the green stalks as well.
Right.
So that we're getting, everything from the whole food.
This is so inspirational, and I think this will help so many people, especially because you've given an outline of the things that you did have. I'm so excited. This has been such a wonderful show, but we've run out of time now. But also we want people to know about your book, Raw Can Cure Cancer.
Yes.
That would be so good if people can get hold of it, to get a bit more detail on what they can do, especially if they've got cancer themselves.
Absolutely.
But thanks so much for coming on the program, Janet. It's been wonderful having you.
Thank you.
You've been watching Nat Chat. I'm Mirella Rich, and our guest was Janet Murray Wakelin. See you again soon.
Northern Access Television will turn 30 in 2020. We are planning a celebration night with a book and a special TV show about our history. If you're a past member or a volunteer of NAT, we would love to hear from you. For more details, visit the website nat30years.info and find out how you can help celebrate 30 years of media for the community. The 30th anniversary of Northern Access Television. Let's celebrate in 2020.
If you choose to drink then drive,
you could ruin lives.
someone else's
Your family's.
or your own,
Choose not to instead.
the right choice could save someone's life.
Proud supporters of safety in our community.
GMCU and Southern Cross Austereo.
Live streamed from Echuca each week, this is MELfeed.video, a different sort of TV.
Hello and welcome to Etc. I'm Dave McLaughlin. Later on in today's episode I'll be talking to local artist Judy Drew. But first here's Justine Izzard to take a look at the subject of backpackers visiting our city.
Good evening, this is Justine Izzard reporting on budget travellers, otherwise known as backpackers in our city. In 1990, Melbourne was voted the most livable city in the world by the Population Crisis Committee in the United States. And since then, Melburnians have seen an increase of backpackers living, working and walking throughout our city and state. Backpackers come from all walks of life and from various age groups. The average is 18 to 35. Tonight, I'll be getting an insight into their thoughts and experiences while in our city. Where are you from?
I'm from a small town called Dundalk. It's about 80 kilometres north of Dublin. It's between Dublin and Belfast on the border.
I'm from a town called Farnborough, about 50 k's west of London.
From Chicago, Illinois in the United States.
From just outside London, England.
And New Zealand.
I'm from Birmingham in England.
I'm from Belo Horizonte, Brazil. And I'm from Norway, but I live in Sweden at the moment.
I'm from the Netherlands. It's Groningen. Yeah. Nobody can speak it out here. It's the northern part.
I'm from Essex, which is like the south of England, just next to London.
Minnesota.
I'm from Holland, Amsterdam.
What brings you to Melbourne?
Well, I've heard like the surfers down here, like, you know, they all hang out down on the South Beach, so that's going to be quite cool seeing like the gorgeous men down there, and might meet a few like neighbours cast and that as well.
I've just been in Asia for 5 months and went to Perth for a while, Adelaide, got no work, so Melbourne's the place to get work, so that's why I'm here.
What brings me to Melbourne is that I'm travelling around for a year and I've been to different countries, including Australia, and Melbourne is my last place to go because I'm flying out of Australia from Melbourne. So I just wanted to see the city and what's it like.
Well, I had travelled around Australia, so it was the next destination to be.
I came to Melbourne because I'm studying at the University of Adelaide and we're on school holidays. So I decided to tour the Great Ocean Road with Oz Experience and come here. And I have a friend who's from Melbourne, Claire, and she told me I had to come here before I leave Australia because it's the best city in Australia. But I just got here, so.
Work, basically. I've been travelling around Australia now for 9 months and ran out of money, so let's get some work.
Backpackers mainly originate from Britain, North America, New Zealand, or a European or Asian nation. Most of these travellers perceive our state as a popular, unique, value for money destination with natural environment and quality tourism infrastructure. Many travellers come in particular to visit our international sporting events, such as the Australian Grand Prix and the Australian Tennis Open. The average amount of time for travellers to stay in our state is just under 2 weeks. What brings you to Melbourne?
Travel and just travelling the world, really. It's a nice place.
My plan was to stay here for only a week, but I'm almost a month here, so it's great. Yeah.
How does Melbourne compare to where you're from?
Melbourne compares in a certain way in that Manchester at times can be quite a busy city, but it's got a very laid-back attitude overall. So in that respect, that's why I'm quite keen on Melbourne.
It's bigger than where I'm from, but I actually live in Cardiff, which is the capital city. So I live in a city anyway. But Melbourne is quite different. You've got the trams and sort of like gridiron things, and you know, it's a lot more commercial than where I'm from. So it's quite similar, but it's nicer.
Compared to London, less people, which is cool. But it's about the same size as the city, and yeah, not as many people, so that's good, and not as polluted.
Where I'm from, it's nothing compared. It's completely different. Everything's magnetised about 100 times, and it's just crazy. Yeah, sit down the streets of Melbourne and be amused 24 hours a day. It's unreal.
Well, I'm from the northwest of England. It's very different to there, but I've lived in London for 6 years, and it's quite similar to London in a lot of ways. The sort of architecture and the people are quite similar, but it's a much smaller city centre, and I like that. It's kind of accessible.
You can compare it because I'm from a little village with all farms and everything, and this is very different.
It's a lot more going on here, and there's a lot more going on. It's excellent. I really love the place.
Well, Melbourne actually compares or reminds me a lot of home. The capital of Holland is Amsterdam, and what's the nicest thing is that like the trams, we have trams as well, and well, it's a bit of a cosmopolitan city, I think, and a lot of business and office things, and yeah, so that's a bit the same, I think.
It's all the best bits of London melded into one. That's what it is, really.
Well, it doesn't really, because Melbourne's like a big city, so, and I'm from quite a small place in the north of Scotland, Inverness, so not really at all.
Oh, it's a lot bigger, a bit more spacious and all that, a lot more people, but it's not quite as happening as where I'm from, unfortunately.
There's no doubt about it that these travellers enjoy themselves in Victoria and take with them many happy memories. The 10 most visited tourist attractions in and around Melbourne are the MCG, Crown Casino, Queen Victoria Market, the Phillip Island Penguin Parade, Melbourne Central, the Royal Botanic Gardens, Captain Cook's Cottage, the Wildlife Wonderland, the Rialto Observation Deck and Melbourne Zoo. What's been your most memorable experience in Melbourne so far?
When I got here, I came down from Darwin, and I came because I'd had my passport and my visa card stolen. And when I first arrived here, I had no money, and the most memorable thing was how everyone responded to me, like the hostel letting me stay for free. And also, I was going into the post office every day waiting for a new visa card to arrive, and it hadn't arrived, and the ladies in the post office, Alex and Betty, just lending me $50, and just the hospitality and the friendliness.
Working in the backpackers, you can meet lots of people from all over the world, and you have a really good time. Yeah, that would be my most experience there.
I think the friends I've made. Yeah, mostly.
Yeah, well, definitely the friends. You meet so many people, but the whole of Melbourne is so amazing. You've got the sea, you've got the beaches, you've got the mountains, you've got the city, the botanical gardens, which I found most impressive. And I mean, I definitely understand why they say it's one of the best in the world. It's amazing.
Yeah. And all the bats in the botanical gardens as well. Yeah, that's amazing.
Beautiful. It's really beautiful.
Oh, there's so many of them, but I'd have to say last weekend we went camping to the Grampians, and we just had the most perfect weather, hiking and everything else, and it's just the most beautiful place.
I was down here for the Grand Prix, which was excellent, particularly because Eddie Irvine came first. It was the first race of the season in Albert Park, and it was brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Grand final day. What a day that is. Whoa! Yeah, it's a difference. We have like the Premiership in England, and it's big football. In here, it's the one game that's a big one, and I was with friends. Very exciting. Okay. Didn't understand it.
I was here over the summer and I got sunburnt and spent 3 days in bed, so that was probably the most memorable. But other than that, I'd say I was here for the Melbourne Open, the tennis, so I went to see that. It was pretty good.
It was the Great Ocean Road. It was really, you get the views there. It's so beautiful. Yeah, we don't get it in the Netherlands, so yeah, for us Dutch people, it's probably, it's really great. You got to see it.
Probably the botanical gardens, definitely. I thought that was so awesome, seeing all those different trees and cactuses. It was cool.
Was your experiences in Melbourne what you expected to be?
Yeah, because I've been already travelling for 8 months now. Spoke with a lot of people, and they all told me you really, really have to go to Melbourne. You really have to see it before you go. And it's just a good atmosphere, nice clubs, nice people. It's really what I expected to be, totally.
I expected Melbourne to be fairly similar to Sydney. Sydney's a very good place, but it's maybe a bit too busy for me, and Melbourne's probably at the right level.
I didn't really have any expectations, like I said, because I've been in Asia for 5 months. I had such a good time there, so coming back to Australia is kind of like coming home, because I was in Sydney for 6 months. So
it's a nice city. I knew it was quite a large city in Australia, so yeah, it's pretty much. And I'd met a lot of people who'd already been and said it was a really nice city, so decided to stop for a while.
Not really. I didn't really read up on Melbourne much. I just come here and hope for the best, and I really like it.
Yeah, well, I've only been here a couple of days this time, but I was here in January. I was here for 10 days, and yeah, it was really good. Went to the Australian Open and the cricket, and although England lost, it was still good.
Most of our international travellers who come to our state expect to get involved in and visit our numerous sporting, art and cultural activities. Once here, research from the Victorian Tourism website shows that travellers who come to Victoria are generally not disappointed and often surprised with the amount of things there is to do in Victoria. In fact, repeat visitation often occurs, particularly amongst British travellers who come back time and time again.
Do you think Melbourne's the sort of place you'd like to come back to one day?
Yeah, I wouldn't stay as long as I have done this time, but yeah, sure, it's a great place to come. And what I like about Melbourne is the fact that everywhere's so close. You've got so many things happening around Melbourne. You've got the Mornington Peninsula, you've got Phillip Island, you've got the Grampians, you've got the Great Ocean Road, you've got everything within a day trip. So I would definitely come back to Melbourne and bring other people back to Melbourne just for the sheer variety of things to do here.
You know, it's so easy for me from New Zealand, so if I could come and live here, I think it probably would be the one place out of Sydney or Brisbane. I mean, Melbourne's really nice, yeah.
Try and keep me away.
I've met lots of friends here, yeah, I'd love it to come back here. It'd be nice fun, good fun. A bit warmer than London, yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, it's lovely. It's got loads of parks here, the city, it's right close to the beach, it's got everything you want, it's convenient. Loads of pubs and clubs, so I'm enjoying myself.
Yeah, I'd love to come back for the Grand Prix, see something like that, or the tennis, something like that.
For sure. I don't even have to think about that, for sure.
Over the last few years, Melbourne has experienced and still is experiencing a lot of changes with the development of South Bank, the casino, the Docklands and the various festivals held throughout the year. We can often get too caught up in our own lives that we forget the appeal and attraction our city has to offer visitors. Often is the case where travellers see more of our city than we do. I think we can all gain something from the backpacker way of thinking and how they've embraced life and become a part of Melbourne. This is Justine Izzard reporting for Etc.
Every time you shop, the choices you make affect our community. It is important to select Australian products made by Aussie-owned companies. Our food security means quality and peace of mind. Your purchasing power keeps your dollars multiplying in our economy, keeping jobs, profits and decisions being made right here, which is better for your children.
So the next time you buy, look for the AusBuy logo. It makes all the difference.
To every child's development, an important message from the Australian Toy Association.
Behind every great athlete, there is a great support network. Australian Athletes with a Disability and Wheelchair Sports Australia help athletes realise their full potential.
Gonna go from 3, yes!
No matter their ability, we're there to support them. Sporting opportunities for all abilities. For more information, visit sports.org.au.
Inline Plus Revisited is a 1-hour special taking a look back at the Inline Plus TV series from 2008. we present the best of our stories, looking into the exciting and fast-paced world of inline and roller skating. So whether you do it for sport or just for fun, come join us at 7:30 this Saturday night for Inline Plus Revisited on 44 Adelaide.
Welcome back to Etc. Judy Drew is a popular local artist who specialises in figure studies, mostly of women. Recently she had an exhibition at the Melbourne Fine Art Gallery, and I spoke to her about her work. Judy, can you tell me a bit about how you describe your style as an artist?
I suppose it's, I use pastel as a medium, and I'm very influenced by Degas, the post-impressionist painter. And of course he used pastel, and he was a figurative artist, and also Toulouse-Lautrec. And so they've had a big influence on me.
I noticed most of your works on exhibition here are figure studies. Why figure studies?
I suppose again just that influence of those French Impressionists, and also early Australian women artists. Alice Bale, Janet Cumbray-Stewart, Agnes Goodsir. I love their works, and that theme of women. I'd like to portray along similar lines, but perhaps more suited, more appropriate, and more indicative of today's women.
What are the sorts of things you're trying to portray in your work?
I want to show strength in the works, and in figurative, the strength of the women, and it's not just through, not necessarily physical strength, although that is part of it, a big part of my work, but I try to suggest a sense of strength through a strong composition, or even eliminating a lot of detail, even eliminating a lot of colour. So there's a strong sense of design, which, hopefully subconsciously it gives a sense of strength to the figure, the person herself.
I noticed most of your studies are of women, but you've done some of men. Is that deliberate, or just the opportunity came along?
Yeah, it was deliberate, and most of my exhibitions have been only of women, but I do a lot of life drawing, involved with different life drawing groups, and a small percentage of the models are men, and I just love doing figurative work in general, and I thought it was only right that to portray men as well. But really, I love the costume as well, and the colour, and which seems to, I suppose the influence of Degas again, that in this situation I can create colour and layers of fabric probably more easily with the women.
Some of the paintings I really like that you've got here are ones that actually have an interesting costume in them. Did you find clothes for your models, or do they just turn up in whatever they've got and you
I collect a lot of different scarves and shawls and things like that. I often use the figure that I've done in the life drawing groups, and then dress the model at home, more or less. But usually they're posed in front of me. But a lot of this is just evolves. It does evolve, and I might even change slightly the colours to have more impact. So the painting itself has a little bit more strength.
What's the process involved in doing a painting? How long does it take, and how many sittings does it involve? You work from drawings or? Yeah,
I do a lot of drawings at my life drawing group, and often some colour sketches, and then I just come home and work on those. If I need to have the model again, I will. But I often get asked how long it takes, but it's hard to say because I just work on them, and when I feel it, usually I feel I don't know where to go next, I'll put it away or put it out in view so I can just see it during the day, and it might be there for a few weeks, and then something might hit me and right, I'm back into it again. It's sometimes you get too bogged down in something and you can overwork it. You're better off just leaving it. It loses a lot of its spontaneity when that happens.
Do you often work on more than one composition at a time?
Yeah, I do. I like doing that. It's each time you go to the other one, it seems a lot fresher. So that's not unusual.
Is that a common thing for artists to do, to work on more than one painting at a time, or or is it more common to just concentrate on one subject?
I don't know. I suppose it's a luxury of pastel. You can put it away and then bring it out later and work on it again. Whereas I don't know. I have used oil and watercolour before, but it's just what suits me. I don't really know how other artists work, but pastel is very much like that. It offers a lot of scope, so you can bring it out and work on it and put it away. There's no drying time, and you don't lose anything by that sort of time lapse.
Can I ask you how you became an artist?
I studied graphic art and worked as a graphic artist for about 5 years. I don't think I was particularly good at it, but I was able to get work. And then I went to live with my husband in Bougainville. And there it was the most beautiful tropical paradise. And I had a lot of time on my hands then, so I started painting, which is something I'd always wanted to do. And really actually being isolated in an isolated environment like that, even though there was a small community, but being away from artistic trends from the big city, I think was quite an advantage, because it allowed me to just muddle my own way through and perhaps develop a style that's was mine. But and also the people were incredibly handsome, magnificent, colourful, bright costumes, and it was an artist's paradise, really. And there were a lot of number of artists up there. And also being in a small community, there was a lot of support. Anybody with any skills was encouraged and nurtured, because we were, apart from the artistic, the culture of the Bougainvillean people, we didn't have a lot of artistic influences in our own community. And there were a lot of other things I did. I wasn't just totally involved in an artistic community, and we had many other interests, and there was a cross-section of people from all over the world with different backgrounds, and I think that was, that's what life's about. And you don't realise it at the time, but subconsciously you absorb a lot of that stuff, and I think it helps. It does affect you, affect me as a person, and also perhaps an approach to my work, or even how I view the world and people.
The figure studies you've got on display here impressed me. They seem to put across a lot of feeling, and at your opening there was obviously a lot of people who like your work. How do you feel your work actually relates to people in general, ordinary people?
It's something I love doing, it's from my heart, I suppose, and it does seem to touch something in other people, some other people.
Seems to me to be a sense of conveying emotion.
Yes, and in the process of doing the work, it tends to evolve, and there is, I suppose, emotion, although I can't really describe how. I know when it's not working, when it's lacking something, when it feels a bit dead. I never really know if it's really working, but I know when it isn't working.
Tell me, what are some of your favourite pieces from this exhibition?
Well, I suppose the dancer in the red tutu I loved. That was based on a girl I did at Life Drawing Group. I just like the strength in the colours. There's complementary colours of the green background, the brilliant red, and there's no line dividing those two colours, so they get almost a clashing vibration in those two colours. I'm happy with the composition, and it's got a movement. And I was trying to get some movement into some of these works because I don't want them to be too static, and that to me has quite a lot of movement in it, quite a lot of passion. And I'm also pleased with the large still life over there.
Is that an unusual thing for you to paint, a still life?
No, I've done a lot of still life, but mainly concentrated on the figurative work. No, I love doing still life. The two seem to go together.
Which is more rewarding, the figure studies or the still life? Or?
I'd say equal. The still life are a challenge because there's a lot involved, and it's a lot. It does involve quite a lot of emotion, even though it's just a still life. It's hard to describe it. Of the composition with the large still life there, the arum lilies seem to have a similar shape to a jug that I'd bought just at a local second-hand shop, and the opening of the jug seemed to reflect the shape of the lilies, so that I tried to create an interesting image, from that, link the two in. I've been influenced by my daughters for a lot of these works. I have a daughter who's did a lot of rowing, and she developed a good, strong back, and I admired that sort of strength in her and the other girls in her team, and it was something that it's only now really that I realised it had quite a big influence on me.
That's interesting. Women athletes are becoming more popular. It's more common to see a strong woman.
That's right, and also we're just inundated with lean, sylph-like women in magazines. The unattainable shape, and it's important. We're not like that. Most of us aren't like that. I think it's important to show women as they are. These women aren't necessarily. They're all different, but I suppose the dominating thing is just to show that there's a lot of strength.
And that's all for our program this week. Goodbye.
If you choose to drive on drugs,
you could ruin lives.
Someone else's, your family's, or your own.
Choose not to instead.
The right choice could save someone's life.
Proud supporters of safety in our community.
GMCU and Southern Cross Austereo.
Alleluia. Om Mani Padme Welcome. You're watching Harmony and Diversity, and today we're speaking with Father Victor Farrugia. He's the parish priest at St Augustine's Church and Burke Street West in CBD Melbourne. With these 3 programs where we'll be interviewing Father Farrugia, what we'll be doing is, in the first program, we'll look at his spiritual derivation, where he comes to be where he is today. The second program will be talking about a special project which Father Victor has undertaken in the past, which is the Oasis Project. And in the third, we'll be talking about spiritual direction, which Father Victor is a spiritual director. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks, Tom.
Well, you just heard that, so you know I'm going to ask you about your spiritual derivation. Clearly born a Catholic. Yeah. Where did it go from there?
Well, to say I come from Malta, almost like saying I come from Ireland, you know. That's right. It's kind of embedded in us for quite a few years. Mm. Yes, I was born there, and before I migrated with my family to Australia. Mm-hmm. I virtually came here when I was 16, so in Malta itself I was brought up like a lot of us. Our religion was also part of our social life, or the other way around. And certainly, I suppose I can honestly say to you that we didn't need watches or mobiles because our life was regulated by the church bells. You know, they gave us the time of funeral. So anyway, what I'm saying is, it was there, deeply embedded in the unconscious and the way I lived. And certainly that was a big influence, I would imagine, yes, to my beginnings, really.
Yes.
In terms of my own spirituality and within the, I suppose, the ambit of the Catholic faith.
Well, how old were you when you left Malta to come here?
Yes, I was just turned 16, actually. 16. Yeah, so I'd kind of finished my secondary schooling, and then I kind of worked for a little while in the steps of St. Matthew in the taxation office, and it wasn't quite as dramatic as Matthew, where he walked past my desk, but I'd been toying with the idea of priesthood, among other kind of thoughts, if you like, of what I'd like to do. And eventually that won the day.
Yes. Well, that coming at 16, you had some fairly solid roots in Malta. So were there any incidences there which sort of started to start this awareness of maybe I might become a priest?
Good question. I probably would have to say it was a combination of things. You know, there was some obviously religious and some not so. For example, I can still remember the first time I ever went underwater with my snorkel. I got this for my birthday, and I distinctly still remember my total fascination with what was underwater. Later on, Jacques Cousteau was one of my heroes who began to film underwater and all that. I don't know, it was something of it took me out of my normal world.
Yes.
I was totally fascinated by this world underwater with all these fish, and Malta's got, as you know, some wonderful clear waters and rocks and stuff. So that was probably one of those moments which expanded my thoughts and the way I looked at life and a bigger world, if you like. And yes, there were some moments, particularly I remember one particular moment when one of our people from our town where I was became a priest, actually, and the big celebrations, you know, and everybody turned out, the mass when the bishop came to ordain him. I would have been about 6 and a half. So, and yeah, it was the best way, you know, as you would understand, it's very hard to kind of convey fully the experience itself.
Yes.
But it was, in a sense, unitive. In a sense, I felt connected to people, to God, to something deep within me, maybe, in the midst of all this euphoria and the joy of ordaining this priest and and all that goes with that. So that's kind of captured my imagination a little bit. Yes. And I suppose that was one of those wonderful moments, which I've never forgotten, actually. Where maybe, must have short-circuited with something bigger than my normal way of thinking, So there are a number of little moments like that.
Yes.
They're little, but in fact very deep.
What was the difference? Like, Malta is full of festivals, it's full of incredible churches, and it's full of being Catholic. You came from there to here.
Yes.
What are your memories about that schism, that sort of leaving behind that environment? Did you came to Melbourne? Did you?
We did. Yes. Yeah, we did. And
what did that feel like?
Well, big adjustment. I probably didn't really fully realize that till years later. And surprisingly, it wasn't 2 years later that I began to permit myself to feel the actual grief of leaving Malta.
Yes.
That came years later. It was triggered off by a situation where I took a group to listen to an Aboriginal speaker, an Aboriginal dream time, and what happened and how they went back, and how they were kind of dispossessed, if you remember the stolen generation. And somehow or other, that triggered me into this, of leaving Malta in that sense, a bit of nostalgia and stuff like that. And of course, we came like many migrants looking for a home and a better life. And at this stage, I still wasn't quite sure.
Well, time has caught up, so we'll talk about being sure in a minute.
Okay.
We'll be back in a moment.
Come on, fellas. Let's get down there.
Hang on. Where's Dave?
Oh, hey, fellas. What do you think? Pretty cool, eh?
Real men look out for each other. Don't let your mates drink and drown.
It's always been my dream to represent Australia in the Olympics. Epilepsy affects nearly 250,000 Australians. Like me, most people have their seizures controlled with medication. Even today, people with epilepsy face incredible discrimination, but this prejudice is just another obstacle we can overcome. We're just as capable as anyone else, and often we have to be stronger. I promise I'll do my best for Australia. Will you do your best for me?
Australian women need to kiss more. Watch out for persistent and unusual symptoms, as they could be a sign of ovarian cancer. Know the important signs and symptoms. Kiss. Look out for symptoms like abdominal or back pain, difficulty eating or feeling full quickly, or persistent bloating, or a change in toilet habits. If you're experiencing persistent and unusual symptoms for more than 14 days, see a GP. Make sure you kiss regularly.
Tick, 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 fashion.
Tick, 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 fun.
Tick, 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 food.
Tick, 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 festivals.
All make up 15 fabulous minutes.
In a half-hour special.
Presented to you by Jacqueline and Steve.
Every week. Time's up.
Welcome back. You're watching Harmony and Diversity, and today we're speaking with Father Victor Farrugia, who's the parish priest for St Augustine's in Bourke Street West in the city of Melbourne, that is. Father, we were talking about a fascinating aspect of the transition from being a 16-year-old Maltese youth raised in what was in those days an intensely Catholic environment,
yes,
and then landing in Australia.
Yes.
And you pointed out that was different. Mm. How different?
Well, it was quite different in this sense that wherever I grew up in Malta, it talked about the Knights of Malta, for example. Buildings, I often thought, why am I so fascinated by, you know, the Enlightenment and by Renaissance and stuff like that, all those kind of periods. And I realized that, you know, the Great Siege really left its stamp on us in 1565 when the Mamelukes attacked and we were going from the south, and somehow or other in the Great Siege of Malta they were stopped there, a bit like the Second World War. And the tremendous sense of faith of, you know, being able to stop such a movement, if you like. And that's imprinted in my gene, my historical genes, if you like. I remember also, these are kind of little brush marks, if you like, that might give a picture. Growing up, seeing my first big spectacular film, Quo Vadis, where the Christians were being killed, and Ursus, the great strongman, you know, subdued the bull, if you like. So again, with this sense of heroism, you know, was there. And then, of course, the other one, much more down to earth, well, the priests were very always close to us in the parish. We had a very close, I was part of youth clubs, and kind of there was a good working relationship, if you like. So this was something that captured again, you know, doing good and being effective in generating good, I suppose, goodness in the world today in whatever way.
Yes.
And so coming to Australia, I remember firstly the buildings were different. You know, went to the local church and it looked back in, you know, back in 65, you know, looked like a huge big garage really. And coming from Malta, where the buildings built with huge big limestone, this felt very kind of temporary, you see. And then of course Christmas and Easter, there was no bells, of course. That was quite, you know, it seemed dead, you know, like normally Christmas time the bells are going with every mass, and so you knew there was a festivity. And of course there's no social outward show greatly of, apart from drinking at the pub back then and stuff like that, which was not in my culture in a sense back then. And so the kind of Christmas then ended up being a meal at home, a mess in the morning. You couldn't feel it buzzing in the air, the festivity, so to speak, which would have been in our case. We would decorate the streets and, you know, you had people mixing, stuff like that. So, but then again, I suppose the multicultural nature, the changes, many nations. I was very lucky that I was brought up in Malta because I grew up with 3 languages, Maltese, Italian and English. And I could understand and speak quite well.
Yes.
So that was handy. But in terms of religion, I came kind of face to face with faith back in those times, which is still, I think, a bit influenced by the whole Anglo-Irish kind of church a bit, which was something new for me, and a lot more, I suppose, cerebral in some way.
Yes.
Not as overtly expressive, emotional expression, yet still quite, you know, in my ken, as well, like what I felt maybe I'd like to do in my life, you know.
So that context is very interesting, and so you've got this schism between the devoutly and overtly Catholic context to this New World type context. That sort of rubbing together of those, how did that rise in you in making a decision for priesthood?
Yes, probably threw me back into my own, when those kind of seemingly exterior supports went, then I was left to look at me, myself and I to a certain extent. What did I really want to do here? Part of the influence to become a priest was, at that age, it was a possibility for me, in as much as we had lots of priests in the family from both sides of from my mother and father in Malta. So for me it was possible. It was not quite like wishing I was a fireman, but it was something akin to that. I was very interested in the medical world, and also, believe it or not, architecture. So I had three things to look at, and I ended up at heart level being attracted to be a priest. I was part of a lay society of Christian doctrine, and that kept me kind of, if you like, marinated in that kind of way of thinking, of wanting to be effective and to be good in the sense of what I walked with people and what I let God do with me in that sense. So that ideal and that sense of life was still in me, maybe deciding to say, well, maybe this is still something I'd like to try.
Yes.
You know. And then I talked to some priests and got lots of encouragement. I was not shy by nature in a sense, because I come from my parents were both in opera and theatre back in Malta with amateur theatre, so I grew up literally running around their feet. You know, they were giving concerts or something. So being in the public wasn't something that I was overly frightened of. So
no, and I'm not overly frightened of time, but we'll run out of for this segment.
Right.
So we'll be back in a moment.
I was diagnosed with Parkinson's at 27.
I was 46.
I was 62.
The first symptom I noticed
Was loss of balance.
Was that I was always tired.
was a loss of smell.
The most difficult thing for me is not to be able to travel in my retirement.
The most difficult thing for me was giving up a career that I loved.
The hardest thing for my mum was being pregnant with me.
With the warmer months upon us, here are some poolside safety tips. Because not everyone can swim like Clarkie and I, S is for supervision. Always have an adult watching over the kids. A is for Oswim. Have your children taught to swim by an Oswim licensed teacher. F is for fencing. Ensure secure fencing surrounds your pool. E is for emergencies. Always be prepared. R is for rule. Ensure your family know the rules around your pool. Be safer and have fun.
Transports of Distant Delight is a mixed selection of transportation pictures from here and there and almost everywhere, but not quite. Some quirky, some mundane, some from the past, perhaps reflecting a transit system that has vanished into history, and some from thriving transport entities that continue to endure despite the constant pressures from the all-pervasive motor car. Enjoy. Here are the current weather readings for Melbourne, Geelong, Ballarat, Shepparton, Bendigo and Echuca on the MELfeed video weather wall. It also includes tomorrow's forecast and expected minimum temperatures in these areas overnight. This is the MELfeed video weather wall on a different sort of TV. MELfeed Video.
Welcome back. You're watching Harmony and Diversity. And we're speaking with Father Victor Farrugia, who's the parish priest at St. Augustine's Church in Burke Street City. In your description of your evolution spiritually, you referred to your heart being connected. How has your heart prospered throughout this point to where you are now? What's been the growth of that heart?
Well, it's nearly 40 years now. No one said. So it's be quite interesting to see how I can put this. Certainly, when we talk about the heart, I suppose we talk about the way I'm accessible in terms of love, in terms of connecting with others, in terms of my love of the Lord. You know, the experiences that I've had from the start in the seminary. I enjoyed theology and philosophy, and they kind of threw me back into this relationship again with Christ, particularly with the power of the Holy Spirit in terms of this kind of presence that, although mysterious, yet very powerful, you know, in terms of connecting me with others, myself. And I suppose many things have strengthened me along the way, some of which would have been my experiences in parish, you know, in terms of the first parishes when I started first preaching or listening to people or teaching particularly.
Yes.
Then, besides that, my own moments of suffering, whether it be rejection or problems that rise up in the normal pastoral context, trying to handle people who are difficult or people who are lost, or to be effective in being a real presence in the lives of those who are struggling. And every time I never forget the second parish, when I effectively was a chaplain in the hospital at Footscray Hospital. And I remember I thought to myself at the end of 3 years doing that, now my seminary training has began, you know. You know, it was moments when I realized that my words sometimes and all my theology was not going to help in terms of being present to someone whose life was being torn by disease, or next to a parent who are losing a child. And all of a sudden, again, my heart began to not be satisfied with cliche answers, or, you know, all of that began to wear very thinly, even though it was maybe right or erudite or whatever. It was totally irrelevant to actually the moment. Yes. So I suppose slowly compassion and learning to become truly present, as I was certainly present in some moments to the presence of God in my heart, in moments of sadness, in moments of distress, in moments of helplessness, in standing with, traveling with, being with people, and in my own life, you know, in slowly generating an attitude of openness, which I kind of wasn't quite born with.
No.
And but over the years, slowly but surely, it began to expand itself in that way. So coming here gave me the opportunity for that.
A large part of what you've been describing is actually been learning from other people's hearts and their willingness to expose themselves to you, I suppose. What does it feel like to have someone sitting there completely surrendering their whole beingness to you in trust? How does that feel?
It feels to me very awesome in a sense, you know, that it's a great responsibility. And at times I'm very humble, because when people are suffering, sometimes nothing like what I've suffered, quite overwhelming for me. And yet somewhere or other they reach out and they say, well, God's helped me through this, you know. I never forget this beautiful man. He would have been in his middle 80s, and he was talking to me after his wife passed away. And he was very gently spoken, but quite firm, one of those solid types. And he talked to me about staying next to his wife for nearly 7 years. She had Alzheimer's. Back in those days, they didn't quite call it that, but and virtually every day he'd be next to her, feeding her. She did not know who he was. But Norm, the way his eyes glistened, and there was a sense of, I've been honored to do this with my wife, to be next to her. To this day, I can still see his eyes, and totally filled and imbued with what obviously is the deepest and closest I can think of compassion, and a God who's identified in that moment with this man, and through this man to his wife. And it's as if all my training and all my formation, you know, just, goodness me, you know, I thought, this is what I'm called to try to be, you know, with others in that sense. So moments like that, when I've been humbled by walking with others, as you say, and learning to basically shut up and listen, and, you know, truly be appreciative of those to whom I'm called to walk with in the company on the way.
Right. So I can feel that what's rising there is perhaps a corroboration of the fact that God's perspective is one of love. That this man exhibited that love.
Yes, it was almost like you're in touch with someone through whose presence you could be present to someone who's not present to you, and yet you can still pour out your love. You know what I'm saying? That, I mean, that's
absolutely. And I think that's a wonderful place to finish the program today. And you will come back for the next program, I hope.
Well,
thanks for watching. We'll be back next week, and we'll be interviewing Father Victor about a little project that he developed, the Oasis Project. We'll see you then.
Baha'u'llah, Shanti Om, Allahu
Are you playing renovation roulette? I'm John Jarrett.
Now I know that deadly asbestos lies hidden in 1/3 of Aussie homes.
It can be found in any home built or renovated before 1987.
Lurking in walls, under floor covering, behind tiles, in roofing. Asbestos, it was used everywhere.
So if you're a renovator or a tradie, you could be risking your life and the lives of others.
Remember, go slow. Asbestos, it's a no-go. Visit asbestosawareness.com.au to learn what you need to know.
Inline Plus Revisited is a 1-hour special taking a look back at the Inline Plus TV series from 2008. We present the best of our stories, looking into the exciting and fast-paced world of inline and roller skating. So whether you do it for sport or just for fun, come join us at 7:30 this Saturday night for Inline Plus Revisited on 44 Adelaide. Live streamed from Echuca each week, this is MELfeed Video, a different sort of TV.
first and foremost, being a child, the son of Reverend Isaac Lewis Sanders and Irma Jean Ezel Sanders, I'd like to thank my mother and father for creating me just over 34 years ago, and to wish them on this night, since it's 17, 18 hours behind America, happy 39th wedding anniversary. Thank you very much, Mom and Dad. And being a child of Puerto Rican, Scotch-Irish, Native American, and African American / African ancestry, to those ancestors of this land whose footsteps we walk in, who know the sum of gum trees and eucalyptus, woman Jika to us all, and thank you for welcoming me in my own dreams. For Tom, since I promised him I'd read a couple of poems too. This is a poem called Twilight Macchiato. Twilight is a curling vineyard, planted desire dampened whispers, suspended pressing, cask dreams, barefoot aftermath of jitterbug angels. Twilight is an obsidian ocean, coagulating shadows of ancestor tears, volcanic Ceylon flakes, virgin swamp paddy billows, arrested hush of pulsar incandescence. Twilight is a honeymooner's broken hourglass, scattered magnetic refrigerator words, stuttering ink-stained ideas, kissing orchids into your mouth.
My first two pieces are from a Fringe Festival show that I recently did called Under the Neon Globe, and they're two of the monologues. If lovers are drunkards, then I am in love with the bottle I keep by the stove. I check all day to see if it is filled, the same way I search for you in each street. If lovers are drunkards, then I am sober and mewling and cursing the world, dreaming of your touch. And if I was brewing moonshine, perhaps I would choose to drink instead of love and find peace. Instead, I sit dead sober watching meaningless neon ribbons. The city, she still has her black broken streets where even the puddles have lights. We are back on track. We are connected to the grid. We are the new country. Somehow, I don't quite believe it. All of us running on the slightest edge. The old neon promise that beneath its light we will find what we're searching for. I think of you in these drag-on days when I stand in hot afternoon slick beneath the thin skin of the city's perspiration. I think of your fingertips sliding around my waist to the molasses of my back, fingerprint smears and salt ripples to my neck, the heat of you behind me, but not quite touching, so that when you dip your head to my candle wax neck, it drives a shiver pure through me. Mouth lapping fine salt mist, lighting every taper beneath my flesh to the bright flush burning through me, brighter than air, brighter than the beating sun of the city. I was slick and incandescent, and more than a little wanton in those radiant afternoons, each of us barely touching, moving in flickering rhythm, the summer on heat in those drag-on days.
My brother is really sick and tired of poetry readings and people not reciting politics and stuff. And I said, well, write your own bloody political poem. And he didn't. So I wrote this in response. It's called I Thought I Wanted. I wanted to write a poem about the state of the world, about the global economy, about socialism versus capitalism, about the tiny percent getting obscenely rich on the backs of the poor and getting poorer. I wanted to write of terrorist wars being fought in the name of stamping out terrorism, of fossil fuel compared to renewable energy, of burning our rainforests and damming our rivers, of orangutans and apes and how much of our DNA going the way of all those other extinct animals. I wanted to rail about the corruption of our young, of the sexualisation, exploitation of our children and constant violence on our TV sets. I wanted to rail about the need to consume to keep this failing economy going. I wanted to write about the increasing disintegration of families, of the starvation of millions, billions, of the third world debt growing and growing and growing, of bailing out bad bastards at the expense of the masses. I wanted to write so many things, but I don't want to preach to the converted, and I can't convince the unconvincible. So then I decided I wanted to be a landlord. I wanted to be a shareholder. I wanted to sail around the world 7 times on my yacht from my main home in the Bahamas. I wanted to own everything my heart desired and to share my wealth with the undeserving poor. I wanted to do so many things as I floated in my Olympic-sized pool at my favourite home in Hawaii. I wanted to be massaged by a different 20-year-old every day and have my body tweaked and tucked by the best surgeons in the world. I wanted to jet to outer space and pay $30 million for the privilege. I wanted to buy art from all the corners of the planet to add to my gallery and collect little people till I had every one I wanted in my own pocket. I wanted so much, but I guess now I'll have to settle for writing and reading poetry to the glitch crowd. Being money poor, being bodily loved, being humanly connected, being worldly aware, being selfless in a selfish sort of way. I don't want to be a pushover. Saying what I think, no matter how inappropriate, expressing my emotions fully at any given opportunity, railing against man's injustice to man and woman, and settle for a life not in a big spotlight, but just a little one. Not rich in money, but rich in substance, rich in friendship, rich in art, rich in words, rich in listening, seeing, feeling, being, rich in us. That's what I want.
The thing I love about Australia is our spirit of mateship and togetherness, and whether it's a drought, a flood or a bushfire, when times are tough, Australians stick together. Well, I'll be spending Australia Day at Tamworth with 40,000 country music mates. It brings people together to celebrate our music and our great country.
Get together on Australia Day. Go to australiaday.org.au to find out how.
We reckon one of the most powerful things in the world is this sausage. Because a sausage can do just about anything. It helps people to walk, see and hear, supports families after fire, drought and flood, and even helps plant trees in our community. Our sausages are working to cure cancer, helping farmers in tough times, and connecting people who are new to a community. And at the same time that they're doing all that, they're nurturing the leaders of tomorrow while building friendships that last a lifetime. Yep, these humble sausages are more powerful than you can believe. They're working wonders in our community. And at Lions, so can you. Lions Australia, we serve more than sausages.
So, you think you're ready for this?
To take on the world? Why not?
Now on MELfeed Video, here are the latest Monday Tats Lotto results just drawn a short time ago under government supervision. All results shown are subject to confirmation. We hope that these numbers brought you a little bit of luck tonight. If not, there's always next week. Stay tuned to MELfeed Video for more great programs this evening.
Wrote this in 1995, and I still regard it as one of the best poems I've ever written, and it's called My Computer in My Hand. With my old detailored coat, my weathered battered hat, I wander through this land, laptop upon my back, computer on my lap, and a modem in my pack. No matter where I roam, the world's within my hand. I roam from sea to sea, I roam from sky to sky. Wherever I log on, my friends will all come by. My friends will all come by, wherever I log on. Wherever I may roam, I bring the world along. With an ear in the sky and a modem in my pack, I wander all the worlds, computer on my back. My computer in my hand, I roam from land to land. There are a lot of poems that I write that are just kind of like whimsical, and most people kind of like don't get them. But I like them. This was written when I was working for the Australian government solicitor. For my sins, at one time I was a manager for the Australian government solicitor, and so there was a song at the time about something or other state of mind. I've forgotten. So this is my poem, AGS, State of Mind. Oh man, give me a briefcase and a tie with thick white spots of yellow dye, a little rain drain up there in the sky, where my worn-out brain can crawl and die. Ooh, it's AGS that makes me cry. Wipe the tear from my eye. Oh, don't let cats fall down on my head. When it rains, stop the ants who nest in my beard. Briefs are better pled than read. My tongue's in the greenhouse on every head. The grey clouds are with wet white satin all lined. I'm in an AGS state of mind.
Moon. Predatory, acne-racked white criminal, blind eye widening into the night, a venomous shrunken nun spilling thin, shrill light. Her dead stare carries no vestige of salvation as she rides the rain's tail, the nameless waves, the black back of magic.
And I was talking to someone today who said they didn't understand haiku, and they were an engineer. What the hell does it mean? Like, it doesn't make sense. And I told them haiku can make a lot of sense. We can get you off in under 17 syllables if you're willing to be open to it. So I'm going to read a couple haiku from Mud Kimono Blues, my 5th chapbook. First one for all those who've ever logged on. E-solicitation. Open my inbox. Friend invites. Electronic herpes in my space. And for all those who know who Ida B. Wells is, shopping in Gina, Louisiana. Buying tennis shoes young black males purchase weapons courts use against them. His name is Hari. His last name is Potter. The haiku is called Spellbinding. Your voice is magic, a lung-expelled love song charm. Our tongues swish and flick.
21st century zodiac. The sign of the ad break. The sign of death on camera. The sign of the hollow weekend. The sign of shattered families. The sign of the laser. The sign of corroded honor. The sign of the cybernaut. The sign of the empty house. The sign of body armor. The sign of the transferred call. The sign of movement in shadow. The sign of the crouching sniper. I doubt the world needs another poem about smack and jazz, but fuck 'em. Chet Baker's face. Gaunt as autumn, beautifully cruel. Each wrinkle on a lonely road, there was no reversing down. Even in youth, sneering into the microphone, the same doom rippled grim and sinuous across his features. Perhaps he felt his crawl through hell well worth it. Each time he was revived, nursed frantically back from smack heaven, came his laconic comment, chill-dried, "Hey man, you wrecked my high."
This is to Libby, who's not here, but I love doing kind of like Renaissance stand-ups. Hail thou, magenta goddess sitting in the yard, ringed by admirers, in garden green garbed, holistically empowered, pluristically free. Desire thou stirreth as the root of a tree. In spring where there riseth the burgeoning sap, such thoughts me so tireth, I retire to nap. Fragrant tongued temptress, thou silver-voiced sylph, why waste thou thy talents on some crazy elf? We could dwell lubriciously in sin unoriginal, yet my pursuit is met with gazes so friginal. Seek'st thou where to search for this pleasure? I would like to, but unfortunately am not physically capable of offering you bliss beyond measure. O angel-haired goddess with thy retinue of mummers, why hast thou purchased yet more gaudy runners? Cinnamon-scented thou waft'st past my bower, where the cinnamon wastes yet another lone hour. Alack, I fear that my fortunes must fall, my suit fallen shipwrecked, my gown without ball, that we never will share that peacock silk robe in some metropolis future under a nylon globe.
Northern Access Television will turn 30 in 2020. We are planning a celebration night with a book and a special TV show about our history. If you're a past member or a volunteer of NAT, we would love to hear from you. For more details, visit the website nat30years.info and find out how you can help celebrate 30 years of media for the community. The 30th anniversary of Northern Access Television. Let's celebrate in 2020.
Playing the 80s on Air FM 88.0.
Hi, this is Darren McAlane from Air FM Drive. Join me from 3 to 6 p.m. every afternoon on 88.0 in Penrith, and also you can catch me on tunein.com. That's from 3 to 6 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time.
Playing the 80s on Air FM 88.0.
behind your favourite team, there's another team. At all levels, in all codes, sports trainers are working to make sport safer. Sports trainers learn injury prevention techniques from doctors and other health professionals so they can provide the right first aid when the going gets tough. If your team could do with a sports trainer, maybe it's time you got a little closer to the action. Find out how you can become a sports trainer. Sports Medicine Australia, providing the team behind the team.
Fabulous minutes every week. Meet the famous, the fortunate and the fashionable as Steve and Jacqueline take you to all the events around town. Not to be missed, it's the most fabulous 15 minutes you'll ever see.
Most of you, or some of you, might know Shelton Lee. Yeah. So there's this anthology we published, and a whole bunch of us put poems in that we'd written about Shelley in years past. I wrote this one for him maybe 10 years ago. Poets. We are the criminals of the literary world. Our pockets thrive with prizes stolen from life. Our round collars house shoulders emboldened by sorrow. We stay wet despite umbrellas. We still hear the drumming long after others are asleep. We know that all things end in grief, in the unspoken. We understand that houses fall, that farms dust over, that the careful fields will drown beneath too much rain. Into our faces fly the tired storms, from our mouths come the murdered words. We throw away gate keys, keep solitary vigil on cliffs, watch the rocks too out from shore. While you dream, we ride the nightmare, scour the clouds, lost, refound, aloft at last.
Constellations in St. Kilda. Making children in love without a bridge of dollar bills. Together we change the diapers of cinnamon-skinned angels. Freckled by a history of tea sippers and bluff burials. If I chain my insecurities and drop them to the riverbed, will your gum trees whisper, I do, in harmony with the magpies? You are the most beautiful flyer, busily acting out our dreams, your dreams in lifetime. Let me sing a son beneath your wings, a daughter too. Nestle in the thatch we twig. My hips carry the helix of twin. A passionate balance is what I seek. A love alive with the vigor of active belief. You unbalance my heart. Inflame my mind. Sometimes your eyes clutch power lines of unstable stability. You leave me blind and I fly alone. Since February, all Wednesdays have been ashes. Smudges on my forehead paint wrinkles beneath my skin. A life without you is a sentence. A novel full of migraine-inducing mistakes. She used to love me, cuss words carved in the carcass of a tree that was loved not. Never ask me to be normal. Normal people surrender the memory of fighting. Normal people cannot understand why angels swim boots on. A normal mind is quicksand, dwelling in a peace apart from themselves, broken off forever, stirred only by songs within sense, burning on the edge of spaces where courage lies slain by convenience. no witnesses will come forward. Body trumps spirit, natural order of things. Comfort last, spineless motherfuckers. They normal. At the jury, wankers. God damn it, I love justice. My tactic is simple. Sing a hum of gravity-defiant surrender. Are there not enough diamonds in this world to polish brilliant? Each descent into the richest womb thrusts my heart. I search the constellations, skirting early arrival jellyfish on St. Kilda's sand. In the pocket of my spirit, I carry songs for stars, a life worth building, supported by suspension beams not made of currency. I have heard you singing on the inside. Your womb breath swallows my heart with anxious welcome. This birth night, I will sing until one of the stars of your sky smiles back the face of adopted celestial love. My pocket treasure hums surrender. I adore the music of your voice.
Inline Plus Revisited is a 1-hour special taking a look back at the Inline Plus TV series from 2008. We present the best of our stories, looking into the exciting and fast-paced world of inline and roller skating. So whether you do it for sport or just for fun, come join us at 7:30 this Saturday night for Inline Plus Revisited on 44 Adelaide.
RSPCA, for all creatures, great and small.
For interesting and informative interviews, join us for NAT Chat Monday nights at 8. Live streamed from Echuca each week, this is MELfeed.video, a different sort of TV.
The best way to enter it.
No parking.
No parking, yeah. But how are we going to get home at 6 in the morning on our bikes?
Taxi. Well, we've just arrived at GLAM. That's right, the 10th GLAM here at the Forum in Melbourne.
That's right, a fantastic party event to be at the Forum Theatre, and we're just going to take you through it. one of the best things to do here in Melbourne.
Let's hope we're glamorously dressed, Steve.
I think you look great. I think I did well with the hair, and the bike actually didn't do much. Windy.
Well, no, too windy.
Okay, we'll just we'll go in and excuse me, VIP.
Outside the front of the forum here, and I'm joined by Simon, who is the fashion policeman for the evening. Good evening.
Hi Jacqueline, how are you?
Very well. Now, I must let the viewers know exactly what you're wearing. We have a Moots jacket here. We've got some Calvin Klein pants with fantastically shined Saba shoes, and the polo neck jumper suit.
Saba.
Fantastic. Now, well, you wear it so well. I'm just wondering, what is the criteria for getting into glam?
Well, the name says it all, glam, glamorous. Basically, we like people to make an effort. And if people are rolling up here in tracksuits and runners, thinking they're going to a rave with tickets, we'll politely ask them to tour around, go home and get changed.
Okay. No puffy jackets?
Well, it's all right wearing them in. So it's cool.
Yep.
But I'm sure it'll be hot and sober tonight anyway.
Have you turned many people away today?
No, not many, a few. Handful, but I mean, it's only early days yet.
So have you been impressed with the quality and the glamorous nature of the crowd this evening?
I think they've made a good effort so far. I'm sure we'll only get better too.
We have to do a fashion check. It's the fashion break, so you have to take your coat off. Yeah, I don't know about this. Hands against the wall, please. Hands against the wall. Hands against the wall. Face the wall. Now we're actually checking for clothes here. We're actually checking for clothes, believe it or not. I'm sorry, but you're not wearing anything. Is this the norm?
It gets too hot in there, so as less as possible.
So you've been before?
I have, all the time.
And this is what you wear? This is the standard here in Melbourne?
This is actually a little bit more than usual.
This is the office wear, is it? Because when you're taking this layer here off...
It's real hot.
I think it's already hot now.
Look sensational, girls. Rock, absolutely.
Thank you.
Now,
when is his birthday?
Oh, congratulations. Many happy returns.
Thanks very much.
So this is how you've chosen to celebrate?
Yeah, starting here.
Is this your first glam?
No, I went to the last one at Metro.
Right. What did you wear then?
I have no idea. No, black skirt with pink kickers.
Lovely. Now, in your estimation, what is glamorous?
As far as dress goes. Glamorous. Anything that you put together yourself. That's anything that makes you feel good.
A bit of creativity then. Don't just go buying it off the store, off the shelves in the store.
Well, I made my last outfit for glam, but I didn't have time this time.
So you just went, oh my God, what am I going to wear? And there's whipped up this little number and on it goes.
Yep.
That easy. Look at this one. Here we go. So this is a very glamorous look, I have to say.
I am. Well, start working. You don't need to
my undies. These are my undies.
That is not glamorous. Okay, that's where glamour.
And they go with my glasses. Well,
okay.
And my bloody nail just broke because of you. I hope you've got some glue, Jacqueline.
You're not going to get past the fashion policeman, I'm afraid.
is the glamorous foyer here at the Foyer Theatre. As you can see, great style. Dripping in it, don't you think?
And everybody's checking everybody out. Now the O1's over, the up and down, and the eyebrow raised or not raised.
So this is a spot to stand because you actually get to check out who is glamorous and basically who isn't.
And who you want to take home later in the evening.
Yeah, fantastic.
Excuse me, Nick, what would you say would be the criteria for being glamorous? How do you make sure you have attained a glamorous look?
I think everyone's here to party tonight. Who cares? You know, like, who cares?
So just be yourself?
Be yourself, glamorous, be yourself. Be glamorous on the inside. That's what counts.
Oh, very nice sentiment. Bye.
I thought about going home and toasting marshmallows around the open fireplace, but I don't need to. They come here.
Yeah, we come to you.
Fantastic. And tell us a bit about your outfit or your theme tonight.
Nikki's the creator. She did all the sewing. And I put it on. It felt great.
So what do you call yourself?
I'm Ivanka. She's Ivanka.
Ivanka.
And Ivanka.
Do you come with an accent?
We could try.
Is that part of the night, get into the theme and do the whole accent thing?
Well, we could, but...
Yeah, Ivana, you're so luscious, darling.
We have an accent in about half an hour.
In half an hour. I think it'll be a bit more like a slur, won't it?
What time the glamorous people here at Forum Maxi drinking this evening? Good evening. Sorry to butt your conversation. I'm just wondering what time the glamorous people at Forum are drinking this evening.
It'll be champagne as a kickstart.
Are you thinking that? A little bit of raspberry cordial?
I'm thinking, pardon?
A little bit of raspberry cordial?
No raspberry cordial. I'm thinking the bubbles might go straight to my head and let me going for the rest of the night.
And then after that?
Probably after that would be maybe a CC, something like that.
CC, what's that?
Canadian Club.
Oh, okay. Is it a beer?
No, it's a Scotch. Scotch whiskey. Yeah.
How do you keep so slim and trim after drinking so much alcohol?
Well, it's a lifestyle, really. It's a lifestyle choice. You have to make sure that you're committed. You make the choice, you commit, and then you model other people. And once you've modeled the right people, like my friend here, you know, you can all have to have bodies and lifestyles and choices like he has.
So I'm wondering, these days the age of clubbers isn't exactly a spring chicken. When do you think people stop clubbing?
Do you mean that spring is over for me and now it's autumn?
No. You are all seasons. You're a man for all seasons, let me tell you. But I'm just wondering, I'd say the average age here this evening would be about between 25 to 35.
That's right. I feel there's a bit of like people who have been around for a while, they think they know what they're doing. There's the other people that have just started off and they think they know what they're doing too. So everybody thinks they know what they're doing. So
do you know what you're talking about?
No, absolutely no idea. No idea. How long did it take you to get this up and going?
I got somebody to make it for me.
That's a bit easy,
all I can do is put my own makeup on and that's all I can do.
So how do you describe your look? Is it the 70s?
It's 70s, 80s. I want trash. Trash with a bit of sophistication. Very important. Yeah.
What time are you going to get out of here looking very trash?
I'm not going to look trash at all. I think I've got the outfit to be able to walk out and still look cool. And welcome to Clam.
Have you met my friend here, Chief Little Bighorn?
Little Bighorn?
Show your horn. Yeah.
I want to see your horn.
No, well,
Little Bighorn?
We're waiting for Fiona Horn. So she usually comes out after 2 a.m. So
who came up with the idea of a cowboy and an Indian?
It was just kind of like a communal thing.
Yeah.
We got together. We put together ourselves. It's just like, it was divine intervention, basically. We're at church and it's church. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Church, we got church.
Inspiration.
Spaghetti Sunday morning.
was the outfit?
Just last night.
It seems to be the norm of the night. It's actually making outfits here for Globe. Have you met someone before?
Yeah, all of them.
Every one of them.
Most of them.
Give the camera a little swell. Fabulous. Now, you think there's an age limit for coming out, or it's endless?
Not too young.
Not too young. How old are you, by the way? Oh, I think no. It's quite okay. Don't be shy.
Okay.
All right. Bye.
Extremely glamorous. I would say almost the most glamorous so far this evening. Congratulations. Thank you. Now, when you were thinking, what am I going to wear to glam? What did you think straight away? Scarface. What sort of tips would you give to people out there who may be attending glam next year? Glam, baby, glam.
You're watching 15 Fabulous Minutes!
Good evening, how are you?
I'm good, I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Now, being in charge of a modelling agency, do you think that Melbourne's getting more glamorous these days or less glamorous?
I think Melbourne's getting more glamorous by the minute. It's the place to be. Definitely happening. I love Melbourne. I wouldn't be anywhere else in the world. Money couldn't get me anywhere else in the world. But this is the comfort.
Are you having a chat? Thank you very much.
Hey, this jacket is really cool, and it's very Bardot. It's very metallic blue. It's very Bardot. I know, is this the favourite thing of yours, are they?
We came in expecting to see Sound of Music, but we're a bit disappointed.
Really? No, that's the other thing, I think.
Okay, we're in the wrong place.
You're at the wrong place.
We have to move on.
But I think you're at the right place.
Okay, alright. I'm good for it anyway.
Who wants to see Sound of Music anyway?
Not me, not me.
You don't look like the Sound of Music kind of guy, actually.
I love that show.
You love that? I do.
I do.
Give us a few answers.
Hang on, we're trying to think of the song that Bird sings. Because we love Bird. What does Bird sing?
Oh, what does Bird sing?
Uncle Max.
You love Bird, you?
Yeah.
Hero of yours.
I'm trying to think of a Bird song. I can't.
You need something. Go get yourself a drink, maybe.
I'm doing that. I'm going to do that.
Here at the forum, and this is dance floor number 1. Yep, and it's empty for a very good reason. Steve knows definitely had a clear floor, and he's actually dancing with all his friends. All his friends, like every single last one of them.
And here we have another local talent. We're in the back room now. We're here with Tony. Tell us about yourself.
I'm a DJ, mate.
You're a DJ. Well, that pretty much says it all. And you were meant to be on at about 5 o'clock at the moment, like tonight. What happened?
I took the early shift.
You took the early shift. Is it a really bummer of a move, like being a DJ, that you like go right through the end of the night?
Nah, that's why I'm here, right?
Do you love your music a lot, yeah? What sort of music do you specialise in?
Disco. I play house, but I love disco and funk. That's my roots.
So you fully booked tonight?
Tonight, no. Tonight, man.
So you're going to get out there and enjoy yourself then? And how long have you been playing for tonight?
3 hours.
3 hours. That's a long shift. The crowd is sensational, the music's fantastic, and the venue is just fantastic.
Now, this must be one of the most glamorous parties in Melbourne. Do you agree?
I think it's just one of the best, definitely out there. It's an elite crowd, it's lots of fun, and everyone looks fantastic. So.
How do you maintain your fabulousness yourself?
Oh, well, you know, it's a lot of work.
Have you got any tips for those out there who aren't so glamorous?
I think so.
So what should the not so glamorous do to attain your lofty heights?
Well, you know, I guess, I mean, you asked everyone
out there with everyone, and all just for the sake of fun, not taking it too seriously. So.
Have a good attitude.
Sorry?
Having the right attitude.
That's it. It's all about fun. So enjoy Melbourne. Yeah. How old are you?
35.
35?
Yes.
Serious?
Yeah, absolutely.
So what brings you to a club at the age of 35?
I'm single, I've got good girlfriends, and we're out to have lots of fun.
Do you think, you don't have, there's no age limit for going out of these places?
No, absolutely not.
I mean, and you're looking sexy as usual. Yeah, right. And are you here to dance, or are you here to meet guys, or what?
Dance with my girlfriends.
Is that normal? Do you come to the club now to meet men anymore, or not?
No, we're not coming with our girlfriends. This one she comes to dance, you get to chat, definitely to chat, but not to pick up.
Well, is that why you're single?
Yeah, probably.
I mean, what do you do if you want to get a man?
Well, you just...
Oh, the man,
occasionally you might meet one here.
Where does a young single woman at the age of 35 go for a man?
I found it, that's why I'm single.
That's where you don't know where to go. Go get at 31 if you need to. Look, she's single, she's available. If you need her, just give us a call. Beautiful. And your friends. That's too sexy.
Congratulations, your 2 hour sets are fully over, so how are you going to be spending the rest of the glam?
Near the bar, basically. Yeah, now the work's finished, just chill out and relax at the bar. Yeah.
What's it like? Because of course you kicked off the evening at 11 p.m. and there was probably nobody on the dance floor. What's it like playing to I don't know, not the masses? How do you get the party pumped?
Every set is challenging, and I've worked main sets before, but I still find working early sets is quite interesting because you've got to build it, you've got to create an atmosphere, and it's good to hold back. I believe in a bit of foreplay with my music, so
just the music?
I don't know. But just the music. So just try and hold them, keep them moving. It's basically it takes a while, you've got to get the feet tapping, and it just slowly moves to the
bit of confidence.
And then when you're ready to hit it,
Alright, and then you sort of pass the baton and then on to the next one.
Yeah, it's basically a building setup. The first set, you're not really supposed to get hands in the air and get them sweaty.
Oh, no hands in the air, you just don't care.
That's later.
Okay. Okay, well enjoy the bar.
You too.
Bye.
This is a face that you see at every venue, in every club magazine, in every photo, all around Melbourne. Now, what is it about the Melbourne scene that you love so much?
Well, obviously the Melbourne people. They're absolutely lovely.
Would you go anywhere else in Australia?
Would I go anywhere else?
Yeah, would you go anywhere else?
Absolutely not. I think Melbourne is the best place. Sydney's great to party, but hey, Melbourne. And by the way, all you people out there, make sure you come to In and Out Fashion Design. It's my fashion store, which a lot of glamorous people are wearing tonight.
So what brings you to glam of all dance parties? What's so special about tonight?
Because glamorous, like
you.
Thank you. If you see my fashion boutique, it's all glamorous, and I love glamour. Yeah.
The people in the back of the bars, the people in the back seats are usually the biggest troublemakers, and here you are at the forum right at the back.
I would agree. At this stage, I'm trying to make no trouble at all.
No, I can see that.
I'm just to myself. I don't want to cause any harm to anybody else. I want to enjoy it later on in the evening, though, and I will come back hard. I'm just resting a little bit now.
Excellent. So, there's trouble brewing, I take it.
There is. Well, I was trying to find you in the crowd, and I was looking for your hat. What happened? I only just arrived. Yeah, but you lost your hat, your trademark. No, I've been watching the tennis. Oh, okay. So what brings you to a party like that? I love it. The first one, or? No, really most of them. All of most of them. Yeah. So what
what sets Melbourne apart from the rest of the world with its DJs? They're the best. They are, huh? Simply. But why are they so good at Melbourne? I mean, Melbourne is so homegrown. Because they've been brought up with it and they just know how to do it, you know? Do you think, like, we've been spoiled in Melbourne? I think it's very spoiled because they're good. We get the best of it. DJ Cat playing up there, and I mean, she's a known DJ who's out there playing the bits. And how are you going to be spending your night here? Well, I can't spend all night here because tomorrow I've got to jump out of a plane, a parachute, and land on Olympic Park for Melbourne Storm. So this is my training. So you're going to cross to land on, yeah? What? You're going to land on the cross? Yes. Is this a solo jump? Sorry? This is a solo jump? No, I'm tandem. Oh, if I go down, at least I've got someone behind me. Are you scared or what? No. Why not? Oh, really?
Well, here I am with one of the most glamorous men this evening. Are you here? How are you?
Oh, how are you?
So now, I know you must lead the glamorous playboy lifestyle. Is that true?
Yeah.
You look like a playboy.
Yeah.
So, what is it like being a glamorous playboy in Melbourne?
We're actually checking for clothes, believe it or not. I'm sorry, but you're not wearing anything.
I didn't think this could happen in Toowoomba. And then I saw it on TV that night. It really opened my eyes.
Whenever the community comes to us and says we need your help, we do whatever we can to assist.
It is a great feeling to be able to help your neighbours, to be able to help your community.
Each Lions member and each Lions club in different parts of the country, we're totally different. But we have core values that are the same. They remain the same for any Lions member and any Lions club anywhere in not just Australia but around the world.
Anything that you can think of that you want to do and support and help, Lions are doing it right now somewhere in this world.
I think Lions need to tell their story. They need to let people know the amazing things that they do.
The three major streams that we have in Lions are the community service that we do for the public, health and medical research, and the disaster relief.
We're out there to help people. If you love helping people, get out and help. Join a Lions Club.
We started this project about 20 years ago. All this gear would normally go to the tip. We recycle it and give it to someone less fortunate and where it is needed in the world.
Being a Lion here in Australia means that I can make a difference to my community. But most importantly, it's inspiring other people to get out and be part of their community and make it a safer and a much happier and better place to live.
Childhood cancer, I've always been interested in cancer and small children from the time I first got cancer 30 years ago. Research is an indefinite item. You can't see it, but it helps so much.
I'm here managing the money and the relationships, but other people are out there raising funds and bringing in community support. Without all of us working together, we can't affect change.
2 more extra hands at any function, any working bee, anything we do, 2 more hands can help us raise more funds, can help us serve our community better.
I went to my Lions Club and I said, I got this idea and I think it's a little bit crazy, but I think we could raise some serious money doing it. And it was to run 100 kilometres. And the club said, okay, if you want to do this, whatever you need us to do, we'll be there 100%. And I'm pretty proud to say that together we raised just over $16,000. So we blew the target out of the water, and I think that was due to a lot of the support that I got.
Through my leadership training and all that, I've learned about thinking global, acting local, and Lions Club is definitely that kind of thing. They act within their communities, but the money that they raise can often end up in any corner of the world.
As an individual, I could only do so much, and whilst it was my burning desire to try and help these people, having an organisation such as the Lions family to call upon to support me and those people that were working with me just made it possible for us to achieve so much more.
You know, after the devastation, to come back into the community, you know, you were shattered by what you saw. You know, no police station, no post office, no petrol station, you know, no kindergarten. There was nothing here.
And all that water with an unstoppable...
I don't know that I've ever seen as much as arrived. There were fridges, washing machines, dryers. There was toasters, jugs, just everything.
To be invited to be a part of Lions just opened up a whole new world to me. A world that provided a structured organisation that could see that the hours that I volunteered could achieve so much more.
I think Lions is a wonderful organisation. The people in it have charity in their hearts.
I can go anywhere in this country, see somebody with a Lions badge, walk up to them and say, good day, you got a friend.
Never once in my life had I had a group of people where I could go to, say anything, and know that no matter what, they would be there, they would stand by me.
It's the family. That's what we call it. It's the Lions family. Without Lions, I think I'd be lost now because they've been my life.
We work hard, but the most important thing is we have fun.
The fellowship of all the members of the club, the broader community, it's just a tremendous organisation to belong to. You know, I'll be here till I die.
It is extremely rewarding and gratifying to be a part of an organisation that can spread its support so far and wide.
More members means more hands, means more support to the community.
I would encourage everyone just to give it a go and see if it is for them, because the return that you get for giving to others is amazing.
Get out there, do something wonderful, be part of this fantastic organisation.
Live streamed from Echuca each week, this is MELfeed Video, a different sort of TV.
1.3 kilometres of the original track, which is one of the only tramway museums in the world that still retain the actual original track. There is Bendigo, of course, which runs through the city. They have changed the layout where they're under instruction with the driver trainer. It might seem like a very simple thing to drive a tram, but and it is, unless, of course, you have an emergency situation, which is what a lot of the training is about.
Live streamed from Echuca each week, MELfeed.video, a different sort of TV.
They say there's a chance I could die in a car crash, maybe even from heart disease, maybe even skin cancer.
I could die in a work-related accident.
Or I could die in a fight.
The fact is, the biggest cause of death for men in my age group is suicide.
Please don't let this happen to me.
You can do something. Lifeline believes that suicide is mostly preventable. Help us save lives. Find out what you can do at lifeline.org.au.
MELfeed.video is about to close operations for tonight, but we'll be back with you next Monday evening. In the meantime, here is a selection of programs that will be seen on our next scheduled web stream. You're welcome to visit our website at MELfeed.video for further details of this project. Until next time, from all of us here at MELfeed.video, we wish you a very good night.